Bootstrap also includes some simple and easily customized typography, such as headings, body text, lists, and a whole bunch more. There's quite a bit you can do with typography, and in this lesson I'm going to show you some of the different typography that's available in Bootstrap. So let's open up our editor, and first of all, let's add in a brand new row here. So how do we do that? So we set up a div here to contain it, and then we need to give it some properties. So we need to give it a class, and this is a row. So we're adding in a class row, and we also want to have maybe a one column div here. So let's give it a value of COL, and we're going to have it resize on. We can just give it a one column, so SM12. So this will give us a one column div, and where we can add in our contents, and we can even get rid of some of this stuff here that we've been looking at before. So let's now add in some content here. So we're familiar, or if you're familiar with HTML, you're familiar with these H tags. So we can have different heading sizes, starting with H1 being the largest and working all the way down. So this also is available in Bootstrap, where we can set our classes or our heading sizes via a class. So we can do something like this, which is equivalent. So we've got a class H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so the same as we would have in HTML headings, but we see that it's already predefined and set up in Bootstrap. So we can literally turn any element into the class value that we want to use. So let's take a look and see how this represents on our web page, and we see that the H1 and the H1 class are the same thing, and Bootstrap nicely formats it and builds it all the way down. We also have different options here for display. So essentially with Bootstrap 4, they came out with some additional options for display, and display is where you can really get your content to stand out. So display is larger than headings, and we have 4 display classes, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I refresh this, we see the display works essentially in the same way, but it allows us to have different styling options and really highlight some of our content within our web pages. And again, display is new with Bootstrap 4, so if you're using Bootstrap 3, stick to the H classes in order to do your different sizing and represent your content in different sizes. And Bootstrap actually takes care of a lot of different styling options. So commonly within web pages, we'll use lists. So I'm going to create an unordered list, and we need to create a bunch of list items. So typically with HTML, we already have some styling for our list items. So we have them represented as a list. So I'm going to just do 4 here. And we'll take a look at our web page, see how it gets displayed out. So we've got our typical list there, and we can add in various classes under the unordered list. So we could do a class of list, and let's take unstyled, and refresh that again. So we see that what that does is that removes out the default styling of the list and just makes it a representation where we're representing the 4 different elements, the list items there. We can also do inline list as well. So we can change our list to be list inline. So now when we open that up, instead of being vertical, we can change our list to be horizontal. So I do need to save this. Also have to apply a class there to the different list items to be inline, because we need to specify that this is going to be an inline item within the list. So class list inline, and I'll just show you what happens if we don't add those in. So we see that we get the list represented. So we have a whole bunch more styling options for our different lists, that we can have our lists inline here, the different items, and we can also still keep that classic listing value there of the list being represented vertically as well. So several different options here how to present your list content. So if you wanted them all to be inline, you'd have to update all of the classes there to represent them inline. And then there's also the typical styling that you would get with HTML, so you can use different tags as well for the styling, and we're going to look at the utilities later on in the course as well. So in the next lesson, we're going to look at how we can use tables and set up table classes within our Bootstrap project. And this is going to be really nice and neat how Bootstrap gives you a bunch of different options for handling tables. So that's coming up in the next lesson.